a win, you probably won't hear that at all. You see what I'm saying? Right? Because you haven't heard about the affidavit or the motion, right? Are they talking about what the attorney said as to how Karmelo did not get a fair shake? The only person you have talking about is people like myself that, number one, it takes a lot of boldness and also a bit of I just don't care. You follow what I'm saying? Because people will always try to dictate what you should do and talk about. But that's a whole different story. So let's get back to the case. I'm just trying to walk you through it. In this case, let me tell you what really came across to me as a little shaky. The first witness that took the stand in this case was a video expert. That's where we saw the video. Now, I don't want to get into this whole. See, the big problem that happened in this case is that some people were allowed to go see the video at the Frisco ISD. And so they came out and they said that they saw certain things. Okay. So when we went to court, evidently what we saw did not fit um, the description at hand. In fact, it was just the opposite. So, just as an example, those individuals that you would see on TikTok and these places, they would say, Karmelo is already sitting under the tent. And then the twins came, four boys walked up to him, beat the brakes off of him, boom, 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 right? Then Karmelo runs, right? So then when we went to court, that's not what we saw. We saw what was released, right? We saw the same thing that was released by the um, ISD by means of the court, I would imagine, right? We saw the same blurred video, okay? But here's the key part to it. The reason why I took it very personal is because sometimes I would see people put out a 1 minute video and it would make sense if you didn't go to court, right? Under the tent, you'd see a black blob of a person. Keep in mind now, Carmelo had on a gray sweater, okay, gray sweater. But they would show when Hunter walks up into the tent, then they cut the video off and they say, look, he's beating them. What? He's beating them? Okay, so anyway, that's that. But here's the deal why this is so important that number one, in court, and they're starting to release the transcripts little by little. So I think we're going to hit a home run. I can't wait to come and show you guys the court record that Carmelo walked into the tent 2 minutes after the twins. And again, I told you his mother explained that in her video that I put out before I went to Egypt. But this is why it's important because I showed you guys a video that Hunter actually turns around on his knees. We assume that it's Hunter. Uh, Even in court, we learned that Hunter was sitting right in front of Carmelo. Okay. If someone wants to contest that, I'll leave that open. I'll say allegedly. But the individual that's sitting in front of Carmelo that I show you in the video, if you guys want to see it, put a one in the chat. If we get enough ones, I'll show the video again right now. But check this out. I show you that Hunter walks into the tent. He sits down. Carmelo comes in 2 minutes later. He sits behind Hunter, right? That's very important because when I show you that that individual that's sitting in front of Carmelo turns around on his knees and he's bearing down pretty much on Carmelo, you can see the angles in the movement as though when Austin comes over, there's already some action going on between the two, Carmelo and the individual sitting in front of him. So you see how that whole story about Carmelo was already in the tent. Some boys walk up and start beating on him. See, that distorts the real truth that Hunter sat down first. Carmelo sat behind him. According to what his family said, that Eddie had invited him under the tent, so he comes in after the boys. Okay, I showed that to you. So now it makes sense when you see that the person sitting in front of Carmelo, right? turns around, and he swing. You see the swing. I show you that, and we have clearer video too, but that's a different purpose for that coming down the line. All right. Um, so that in court, right? So we have the video. I just wanted to put that out. The video expert. This is the big red flag. I want you guys to understand. He breaks down what's happening with Karmelo running. When you see Karmelo running, you see the white orb around him. Okay, that was done by the video expert so nicely. But guess what? He never put any light, any orb to show what was happening under the tent. Don't you think that would have been the best place to really highlight who's hitting who, right? That's what we're here for, right? That we would the whole case is very much contingent and hinges on what happened under the tent. So when the defense asked the expert, the video expert, why didn't you show what's under the tent? He says, because the prosecution did not ask me to. Yeah, that's what he said. So right there, anybody with a thinking mind are going to say, wow, you mean to tell me you brought us all here today and you don't want to show the jurors what was happening under the tent? Now, you're the prosecution. If Karmelo was the one that was really out of pocket, you'd be showing him under that tent. There's something off here, right? So when I show you guys the video, now we see why, because you see now there's more than one person that's involved in swinging and all this job going on with Carmelo. And I get guys coming in and they say, oh no, oh God, that would never happen. Only one person lightly touched him on the shoulder, right? Oh, you were in court too, huh? No. Where do you get your information from? Oh, I was, don't even know, don't have a clue. But that's just the nature of life, and people want to know everything, right? But I've shown several times that there's more than one person, and I haven't had a lot of feedback from people that really follow the channel. So mostly everybody is saying, yeah, we see it very, we get the idea, right? But the question is, right, why wasn't that in court? What would be your answer for that? How do you let a jury? Now, I'm not taking away from what happened. There's a dead body. Yeah, dead body. So that has to be addressed, right? Okay. So nobody's talking about it. People come in, oh, he killed a guy. We're not talking about that part. Okay. You guys have to, some of the guys have to learn how to focus on certain things because this is a valid point. And the question is, how do you sentence a guy to 35 years or 10 years or whatever? And you don't even know that it was more than one person who was hiding that information. See, that's the troubling part. I struggle with that sometimes as I try to fall asleep at night. Who was it being hid? Like, how would the prosecution not know what I showed you guys? Right? Right? Well, the fact that they didn't highlight what's under the tent leads me to swing in that direction. Why didn't the defense do what I did? Why didn't they get a professional to say, listen, you see this here? There's two guys involved with him. How does that work for the proportionality? You see? Anybody with a thinking cap on should be able to understand where I'm coming from. Because the big issue is proportionality, right? If a guy pushes you, right? See, I have no problem telling you guys, I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't talk to Carmelo's family. Everything I do is just from my own, investigative work, right? But at the end of the day, right, this is what you have to understand about this case. When I go back, because I'm listening to everybody, all of the witnesses as they came in, I'm checking them out, how they look, their facial expressions, some of them, many of them changed their story from the first day that was heavily documented to when they came in court. Okay? That's a fact. But I get people on Facebook and other places, nobody ever changed their mind. Oh, who told you that? We get the most doofiest people in the world trying to tell me what I saw in court, right? Going to argue with a guy that sat there in court, going to tell me what witnesses said. I don't need you for that. I saw it for myself firsthand. Okay. All right. Now, check this out, though. You have these kids, and for the most part, they come into the courtroom and they're basically all saying a couple things that Karmelo came in, he really didn't know Eddie. He just they say he dapped Eddie up. You know how the guys do, boop. And he sat down. And that really, listen, I had it out with some of the girls that I still talk to from the court case. I made some good friends there that were from the local area. Amazing advocates and so, but we got into it. I'm like, listen, I don't mean no harm, but they're trying to paint a picture like Karmelo just came under this tent and he didn't know anybody. Now all of a sudden, somebody stabbed. It's like, wait a minute, this is what they were painting, right? This, if you listen to the kids, we had a whole day of them coming in saying, yeah, he didn't talk to Eddie at all. Then even Eddie tells us they were talking. Another kid said they were talking about the weather. So after time went on, and I'm only talking about prosecution witnesses. Don't think I'm talking about the defense. These are their own witnesses that are starting to say, "Oh yeah, they were talking. He knew Eddie." So when I heard the mainstream media running with this whole narrative, he was just there to take somebody out. That's the same thing the prosecution was basically saying. Another thing that the kids, right? You had 12 or 13, they all painted a picture, right? That Hunter basically sat there like the Lamb of the Christ, and he didn't even really do much of anything. This is what these kids, right? So how did this be? How could this be? Right? You saw the video I showed you, right? But some of the kids did say, one kid, I think it's Tion, he says, yeah, I think Hunter did stand up. He was behind him or something like that. Then if you remember Hunter in the video, he says his brother grabbed the backpack, right? So when I showed you guys the video, you started to see that Hunter was actually turned around on his knees confronting Karmelo. It's right there. And remember, this all happened in 5 seconds. So there's no 15 seconds for you to turn around or no. This is 5 seconds. This is the part a lot of people are not realizing. Um, and you have to ask yourself, why is this the case that all the kids came in and they tried to paint this narrative that when you actually follow the facts, we're starting to see that it doesn't jive, okay? So that's why this case is so important, because typically when people swear, especially in the court, they had them swear on the Bible and everything else, right? Right. And so imagine I would attend a trial and then I'd be on my way home or to the hotel and I listened to the mainstream media. All these kids said that Carmelo was the aggressor. Was the aggressor. Okay. But see, then I told you what happened with Eddie, right? Eddie is the key witness. The prosecution told him that when he arrived on the stand, said, hey, listen, you're the man of the hour. You're the nexus between Austin and Carmelo. Okay? You're the nexus between the two of them. Okay? But then Eddie, he tried to downplay Austin and tried to paint the narrative that Carmelo was the aggressor. So when you have that happen, and most of the people are not in the courtroom to hear Eddie say to everybody sitting there, Carmelo called Austin a bitch. Austin then calls Carmelo a bitch. See, Carmelo is the one, right? But see, under cross examination, then the attorney, Toby Shook, he takes Eddie back in time to the day that it happened. He says, "Hey, don't you realize that you know this was recorded, right?" "Oh, okay, yeah, it's recorded." "Do you know on that day you said something totally different?" "Oh, what was that?" "You said Austin told Carmelo, 'I'm going to get your bitch ass up out of here.'" And Carmelo says, "Well, move my bitch ass." But that's different than what we've been hearing. So guess what happens, right? This is what happens. I'm just giving you the day in the life of where I sit. So I hear all this in court. I'm like, oh, okay. So there's some hanky panky with this case. People are lying. This is prosecution witnesses, right? Then I'm going to the hotel. I turn on the big stream media, and lo and behold, every kid came in and said Carmelo was the aggressor. Put him to death. You know, that's just the way they roll. And then when I try to say, well, no, these kids are distorting here because Eddie and this, and I start, oh, what do you know? You wasn't even in the courtroom. I have a list. You was I checked. Some guy on Facebook told me I checked the list. You wasn't even in court. Like, I don't want to say that word. I'm like, dude, you don't even know anything. But you see how this is? It's all programming. The mainstream media puts out their narrative. In this particular case, which I hadn't really seen, the judge chose a specific person to come in to be the star media guy. It doesn't get much better than that. So he's the go-to guy for your media. Okay. And you have 9 that they hand picked out. Boop, you can be there. And so this whole narrative is being pushed out about a case that I see big problems, but it's just a small voice, right? Yeah, a small voice. And then on top of that, you got the loonies over there just making other stuff up. So that makes the culture looks bad. We even see it now with Nolan, just making stuff up out of the blue. I'm like, man. So what happens when the facts come out and you have to these people don't even go back and correct themselves. They just keep going. They show up the next day with the next story and nobody said, well, wait a minute, you said this about Nolan. No, you don't get that, right? Not at all. People just move on, and when the next lies come, they just eat it up and absorb it. There's something wrong. I think we're sick as a people, if you really want to know about it. So at any rate, I don't want to keep going. I saw some of my guests wanted to come up. I'm sorry. You guys can come back in now and I'll open it up, but I was just babbling on. I'm sorry if I've been going on too long, but feel free to come in, guys. Um, but I just want to express to people that this case, don't be shocked if this case turns around. See, they set you up for failure because number one, you don't want to listen to me. I try to tell you what I know, what I experienced about the case. So what's going to happen more than likely is that the good attorneys are now going to do like some of the things that I did. And they're probably going to come out with this video and show you that more than one person, these kids came in and said that Austin was lightly pushing the boy on the shoulder. Come off it. You know, what are we doing here? Pushing him on the shoulder. Now, I'll show you guys the video. Now you got 2 guys on him. So you know what happens? Everybody's saying he got 35, he should have gotten life. Okay, I'll give you that. A good attorney already today, he had a win. And so imagine now he gets an appeal because people see what I saw, right? Just common sense. It's no magnificent thing. And then he gets a new trial, and maybe it doesn't even go to trial. Maybe he gets a reduced time. People are going to go nuts. And you know who you're going to have to blame for that? You're going to have to blame the mainstream media for not telling you the truth from the beginning. Don't come looking for me. I tried to tell you this case has problems. I do not care enough to spend this much time on any one case. The reason I do it because I look at it as being a problem. And it's not really about Carmelo Anthony. I'm thinking 10, 20 years down the road, maybe if we can get some justice now, maybe the next generation won't have it so hard. Okay. And I know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people unsubscribed, you know. I'm like my grandfather. I said, don't let the door hit you on your way out. That's just how I feel about it. I'm not here for followers and likes and all this business, you know. Okay. So I'm trying to tell you that a storm is coming for this case, and I can feel it. It's in the air. And don't blame anybody else but the mainstream media when you see this boy get less time. Because technically, at worst, it should have been manslaughter. It would have been for anybody else, right? That's just what it is, right? Um, when you have a defense that's not a, let me explain it to you because some people are just hard to grasp little points. Um, let me give it to you like this: because of the gentleman's deal, they couldn't really draw out anything good about Carmelo, right? But check this out. He Now we know there's two guys involved. Okay, so we're gonna come off of this one light push. You can't sell that to me or anybody that follows this channel that saw the video. Okay, so he had two guys on him. Um, he stabbed somebody. Okay, or whatever. Some people are trying to say, "Oh, one of the brothers." You know, I'm not into all that. The boy told you what happened anyway. So check this out. He runs for it. People are saying, "Well, he run. That means he was guilty." Hello, you got now 4 or 5 guys on your heels. What are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So that's just common sense, right? But people try to draw things out and it's ridiculous. Okay. Now, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. So anyway, he runs, and I showed you guys in the video, so you could always go back and check it out. But he runs the prosecution in the opening arguments, right? Because I listened intently. They said he ran and he threw the knife away, tried to almost like he tried to hide the knife. Then he ran to try to get out of an exit. So you know what it means when you hear that, and then all of a sudden you see the boy, he runs up, he drops the knife in the bleachers, 3 bleachers up. The boy runs out past the exits. You see him run past where the cars are parked. He could have ran out of the event. That's not what the prosecution said. That's a low down dirty shame. I'm just saying the least I expect the prosecution, to be honest. He runs to Tiffany, who I showed you guys in the video. She's a coach. I saw her give her testimony. She says she stopped him with one hand, right? Little small lady. He yields to her. She hands him off to the big black coach. He's 6'2", 240 pounds. I remember these details from court, okay? He grabs Karmelo by the shoulder. He says, son, what did you do? He says, I told him not to hit me, okay? Whatever. Okay, I still argue that that could be Hunter because Hunter was the first one to argue with him. And from what I see in the video, potentially the first one to engage with him. Okay? But anyway, that's a different discussion. The guy says they're walking along. He walks away from Karmelo. Carmelo's standing by himself. He goes over to get a report on Austin. He comes back. Guess what he does? He grabs Carmelo by the shoulder again. Carmelo could have ran. You see how fast the boy run, right? If he's just trying to get away, hide his identity, that's not what we heard from the prosecution from the beginning. I'm just telling you, this is how it happens in court. You don't want to get in trouble because it's not going to go well for you. So the guy came back to Carmelo, put his arm around him, and he says, if this young man dies, I heard the coach, his name was I may have Hooper. His name is Vincent Hooper. I'm pretty good now. I talk about this case so much. Vincent Hooper, shout out to you. I felt like you gave a good testimony. But Vincent Hooper says that once he told Carmelo the boy could die, Carmelo says, no, he's not going to die. You know? So he didn't even, that gives you an idea um, of remorse, okay? Anybody with a thinking brain, if it was their son, they're going to really focus and say, oh, yeah, that's some kind of remorse, That's not a hardened type of situation, right? And that doesn't justify what happened to Austin. Emotional intelligence could have led this all to a better place, okay? But that's not always how life works, okay? It is what it is. So the coach really laid it out, and then you see Carmelo jumping up, he's crying and all of that or whatever. Then he gets to the police officer, he says, is he okay? So my point is, the defense didn't draw any of that out because they're so concerned, potentially, allegedly, about a gentleman's deal. You follow what I'm saying? This gentleman's deal, this is what the new appeal team is using to show that this is why the boy did not get a fair trial. Okay? So I'm trying to help you guys to understand more about the case and hear about things that you probably didn't get a chance to hear about, but I actually saw for myself in the courtroom. It's a tough time because people, like, for instance, for the measure of people that are out here just pushing this race bait, it's out of control. And you have to wonder, what is the final objective that people want? And you have it on both sides. People that they're only good, they can't really accumulate money or resources in life, so they're just looking to stir up trouble. But it's quite concerning because now we're starting to see it on more cases, right? And so that's why I'm trying to convey to you guys today to help you to understand that that's why for a case like Carmelo Anthony, I had to stop and say, hey, wait a minute. Because the big thing, I'll be honest, it was the mainstream media pushing narratives that I saw for myself wasn't true. So you get to sit at the high seat, and everything that you're talking about is hearsay because somebody, one of your producers, went and sat in court, and now they're passing on information that has to go through a filter. You get to talk about it, and people take your words as gold. But in actuality, you push just as much misinformation and disinformation as the people you complain about. When I went out to Nancy Guthrie's home and I was out there, the mainstream media went after myself and JLR and all the other guys. Oh, you guys are here, boom, boom, boom. Guess what? You know what these guys are saying now, mainstream media? Oh, this is the end of our show. Go like my YouTube. Oh, you got a YouTube? You were just talking bad about YouTubers. So you're a YouTuber too? We thought that YouTubers were from the devil, right? So you see the double standards, all this stuff you have to contend with. And then I had to deal with the people that went to see the video. They had a whole different, it's just chaos on top of chaos. It's just like going to the asylum, just dealing with all of this from every different angle, just trying to report on a court case. But now we're starting to see some of the transcripts come out. I can't wait to show you on paper. And also, I'm interested in knowing if uh, if the transcripts are going to be legit, right? I'm not going to impute bad motives, but I just can't wait to really break into it and compare it because I remember, and also I have my notes too. Other people were there as well. Let me bring on my first guest, Remedy. If you want to come up too, I'm waiting on you. All right, DJ Genesis, what's happening?
Hey there. So I had a couple of questions I wanted to ask. I wanted to play a little bit of this video. Have you heard of like the it's a channel called Legal Doc Talk your favorite paralegal. Have you heard of her?
Yeah, I have connection with her.
Yeah, so she was actually going through the release transcripts and she says that there's a lot of days missing out of the transcripts. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, I listened to it. Yep.
So you've seen the one this video I was trying to show it to you because I was going to see what do you think about those particular days. And was there anything specific on those days that might be a thing where they might have to be maybe, I mean, will they like black things out? Like if they don't want the media to like see that particular thing, or do they have to release
They
the
have
whole
not, based on what I understand, they have not provided the days that are in question from the appeal team. So, in other words, they remained in a handicapped space. So, that's something that they will have to push through and fight through. But the days that are missing are the days they need to substantiate the points within
so they
reason.
oh, so they're not letting them be to the public because it's still under part of the actual case.
Right.
Okay, okay, because okay, so I could take that down. Then I mean, I was gonna play it so to have it, we could hear what she said. Those days are missing, and this, that, the other. Another question I had is that it seems like the jury, in any other trial, you'll at least hear from one juror that'll get an interview. But in this case, the only person that got interviewed was the judge. Was there any particular directive that the judge made about the jury going to the media or at all? Did he tell them, hey, don't go to the media? Or
He gave them. I heard the directive that the judge gave the jury, and he basically told them that they could not talk about it during the court. And he specifically said, once the case is over, you can talk about it or whatever. So he did not inhibit them from talking about it. Now that could have changed, but I'm just saying what I heard in court.
because there were other times where like people weren't around available, allowed to be there, the media to hear what was going on when he talked to like lawyers and jurors. I'm not sure if that might have been because I mean no jurors, only
Well,
judge.
that's normal. When they have a sidebar, you're not supposed to hear what the judge is saying with the lawyers, so that's not really something concerning.
No, I was saying is that wasn't there a whole time where like the media was out and then the judge and the jury was there talking to each other. I think
Um,
toward that during the sentencing that like around that time, I thought that there was like a whole time that they had. Is I get there's so many different stories about how that whole thing.
yeah, there's a lot of stories floating, but I don't think that was. I don't think they were instructed not to talk about it. From what I heard, unless he changed his position, they could talk about it after the case was over.
Hmm. Okay, because I was just wondering like if that was a because I think it's interesting that zero jurors like I mean like
Well, listen. Just from the heat that I take alone, anybody, most people probably don't want to have to deal with the public on a case like this one,
right. Okay.
because no matter what you say, somebody's not going to be happy with you. And depending on how low they vibrate, they may want to be physical or plumb stupid. So that's just how it goes.
Right. So they have to probably protect themselves in this case. Okay. I think is that the third question? It seemed like this that they went to quickly. They wanted to quickly put this case under the rug. Like they quickly did everything. I mean, it seemed to be the record time murder case I've ever seen move so fast throughout. Um, do you think that what's going on with the suppression of things? Is it more or less to try to quickly make things happen so that it doesn't stay in the media so long, so where it creates an upheaval and more drama where people could have flown in? It could have gotten more and more aggressive because more people are coming, things like that.
Well, listen, this is just my viewpoint. I think it would have been more advantageous if they didn't release the video and didn't release the transcripts, because I've already shown you by means of the video, you get a chance to see that more than one person, that was a mistake on their part releasing the video, because now they're gonna have to face the music. That's just the bottom line. And then so when it comes to the transcripts, now you're gonna see here's the issue. This is just my opinion. Most of the mainstream media ran with the narrative, oh, it was just a light push on the shoulder. Um, you know, then Hudson comes in, he says it was a lineman's drill. That's not a light push on the shoulder. That's when you get up under a guy, you grab him, and you try to do a serious move on him, right? Another guy named Jay, he basically said he was trying to grab him up. And then I think it was Toby Shook had him quantify it and explain what does this mean. And he was explaining like you're trying to pick up a guy. So all of those things are going to come out in the transcript. That's a real big problem. And it doesn't stand with the narrative that the mainstream media has ran with. So imagine what this does to your audience, right? When when your audience hears that Austin did a light push on the shoulder, and now they get the transcripts and they read it for themselves and they see boys talking about he was doing a lineman's drill and he was trying to pick the boy up and this, and that. That's different than what you heard on your favorite network. You follow what I'm saying? So that's why the transcripts are being, I would imagine, I would seal them up too, right?
Sounds like it. And then another question is that if like when the jury was looking at the video, because you could
Yeah.
see the juror's face, right? What was the expression that you saw on the jury? Did they look more like they were trying to? Because I mean, from the video I see, it still is kind of blurry. Like unless they saw something way more enhanced than what they finally released, I don't see how they can get a murder conviction out of that. It still looks like fuzzy to see, unless they. I mean, was that
See,
final? Yeah. Go ahead.
see, here's the deal, right? You take the video out of the equation. They were going to get him on the testimony of the individuals. There's just enough there. So they don't really have to see the video and all of that. Listen, you had Worski, right? And I think Calvin and I talked about it. We call it the can, like a can statement. So imagine it this way. You have 13 people, and this is the problem on the appeal, okay? Because I could look at this in both ways. I could argue this case from both perspectives, okay? But let me give it to you like this. Every one of those pretty much students that came in, at the very end, Worski would say, was Carmelo Anthony the aggressor? The kids say yes. Was Austin Metcalf the aggressor? No. Was this self defense for Carmelo Anthony? No. Uh, did Carmelo Anthony murder Austin Metcalf? Yes. So all of them, imagine you get 12 or 13 people saying that as their final words before they leave the stand. Don't you see how impressionable that could be?
Yes.
So forget about the video. They played a textbook, I shouldn't say played, but they had a textbook game, right? And I can't say game either because this is modern vernacular. People are going to take it wrong. They did a textbook case on Carmelo that, in my opinion, the appeal is going to have a tough time because based on that alone. Because when you listen to the judge when he gives his spiel and he's interviewed, he tells you he pretty much did a textbook job, perfect job, right? He was proud of himself, right?
Yeah.
So, and think about it. This was the last big case for that judge, and he's off the bench in December. What judge is going to turn around his record? I mean, you got to use a little. Listen, when I covered Diddy's appeal, you know what they told us? So there's three judges on Diddy's appeal. I went to Diddy's appeal about 7 months ago. We still don't have an answer. Diddy will be home in about 3 weeks. Okay. Now, Diddy will be home in probably 2 weeks, right? But check this out. This is what the judge said. He says, once a jury have rendered a verdict, this is in New York. Once the verdict comes in, he says it's very unlikely for us to turn it around. Three judges. He said I wrote it down verbatim. It's very unlikely for us to turn it around. Okay? So that gives you an idea. It's not an easy task to be able to do something like this. I'm just being honest with you.
So I was going to ask a question when it comes down to like, okay, the knife situation, right? You know how you said that he was out camping and this, that, the other, right? If he was unable to say that he played chess and that was against the agreement. Don't you think that that could also be against the agreement, that he was out camping and that he was a camper and he used knives for camping? Isn't that similar to saying that, oh, like a character thing, like he was a camper and he used to go out hunting, and that's like kind of like a character type thing too, that he could probably try to object or strike, right? So do you think that that's the reason why he never used that
Well,
personally?
knowing what I know now, I understand that the defense was trying to tell you. You know, sometimes I know you very well, DJ Genesis, so I could deal with you this way, where I try to give you a hint during the show that nobody else is going to get, and you would probably get it because we know each other, right? So that's what the defense attorney was trying to do in the case. So he's saying, I'll give you a couple of examples. He's saying, because of the whole knife, he's saying he enjoys camping. You see that? At another time, they went through the components of the bag that Carmelo had, and there was like a ski mask, right? Some people call it the Pooh Shiesty mask, right? But the defense attorney says, but he also had a hand warmers. So see, now he's trying to tell you the mask, he's cold, so he has hand warmers and he has a mask. It's not like he's out robbing banks. You follow what I'm saying? So the see, at the time we were saying, oh, these guys are garbage. They're no, these guys were inhibited by the gentleman's deal, and they were still trying to tell you things, but a lot of that is based on the information. See, obviously, in order for them to even take this gentleman's deal, there was something Carmelo had in his phone that was shattering, or else why would you take a gentleman's deal? You see what I'm saying? Just like it was very important for the masses to not know that these kids had racist graffiti and they had been locked up for it. Imagine what the jury probably would have thought, like, wait a minute, wait, these kids did what? You know what I mean? So by that being off the table, it kind of kept this case in line for a 35-year or more. You follow?
Right, makes sense. Because I was just wondering, like, like that hands being tied. Do you think that also has something to do with the fact? Because I know that Charlton White mentioned that that particular lawyer is not really have connections in Collin County. He's more of a Dallas County lawyer. Do you think that had something to do with also, because like certain lawyers like probably have more precedent in certain areas?
Listen, let me give it to you straight. All right. You probably catch me on a bad day. I'm probably saying too much, but I'll tell you. All of these lawyers and judges, some of them play golf together. If it's a civil case, sometimes you might get more money because this lawyer know the judge. You know what I mean? Or you get a gentleman's deal. You got all sorts of deals happening because of based on relationships. Or one guy, maybe this particular judge used to be his mentor. You know, whatever that is, so he can go in and pull off a deal that the average Joe from another county could not receive. So that's why it's very important when you choose an attorney for a case, you want to get a local guy and you need to ask him, do you have any pull in this community? How many cases have you see? That's very important because a lot of times it's the good old boy club. It's just what it is.
Well, I know he said that he was an agreeable attorney, and he felt like it's better to have an agreeable nature in a case like this.
Yeah,
And so I,
but see, here's another issue. I don't want to get into it too heavy, but think about it this way: um, Carmelo family had an original black attorney for him. Okay. And I think that attorney had two other attorneys. Okay. I don't know how much they were charging, right? But I guarantee you, if you looked into it deeper and you saw how much the guy he ended up with was charging, there's probably a difference. Okay. So I'll leave it there. So sometimes you get what you pay for. It's a hard lesson to learn. All right.
wow. Okay, well,
So
those are my questions. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you. All
Hey
right. What's
Mel,
happening? What's happening? Oh, let me drop the link in case somebody else want to come up too.
I if you can hear me, I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? All right. Go out and come back in. Go out and come
Yeah,
back
I'll leave
in.
and come back in.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right.
Um,
So while she
no,
does that, if anybody
let
else
me
wants to
go
come up,
from.
oh
Let me
boy, let's
see
see.
here.
Okay, let me take
Let's,
her out here. Okay, so there we go. So thank you to DJ Genesis for coming up. She's always amazing, you know, solid individual. So you guys start to get the picture here to a certain extent about how these cases work. I wouldn't want to go to cases like this where I get a little sidelined because all of this weirdness is happening. It just takes up too much time. Especially, we live in a world now where nobody's really happy with whatever you're going to say. So you just have to cover the case and stand on what you believe in. And that's what I do. All right. How are you? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right. So what's on your mind? Talk to me.
Um, so I ran across something very interesting, Mel, and I know you were in the courtroom when the guy that made the edits to the video. I don't know what you call him, but when he was on the stand and he was talking,
Enhance
um,
the video. He
yeah,
enhance. Hmm.
yeah, when that guy enhanced the video and he was speaking, did the prosecution establish anything or any concern? Well, did the prosecution make a record of why the timestamps and dates or anything were different was different on the video, or did the defense question it at all?
All right. So basically, the can you mute up while I talk because I hear my backdrop.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So basically, the prosecution they said two things that stood out to me. Number one, they said that the timestamps were going to be off. You'd notice that, and so we started. They set the stage for that. The defense didn't really. That would have been another thing for the defense to really draw up, but they didn't. The other thing is the prosecution said you're going to notice that the witnesses, right? They're witnesses that their stories don't match. They said that. So to me, right off the bat, they knew that their witnesses were not jiving, and it made me wonder, why was that the case? But let me tell you this though, I was probably the first person to come out of court and talk about this, and I was happy to get the video and actually show you guys that I know what I'm talking about. But I said, and I even got the date right. I said, when you get the body cam video from the Officer Cortez, I believe that's his name, you're going to notice that the timestamp on his body cam is February the 10th, 2016. But that's happened on April the 2nd, 2025. And so if you go and look at the body cam, you'll see that I was right on the money. Go ahead.
All right. So what is interesting to me about that is, um, we all know this whole Charlie Kirk murder shebang. Well, I don't know if I can say that. This whole trial with Charlie Kirk is unraveling, and they were just in the phase of the preliminary hearing. One of the things I found interesting, Mel, was the prosecution. They were standing at the stand, and they had the gentleman on the they had the gentleman they had the gentleman on the stand, and he was testifying as to, if this is a real video or not. And so then, um, the judge, no, that he was testifying as to whether this was the real video, if this was the video that he had seen before, some more things. But the defense came and they were like, Your Honor, we're going to object to the authenticity of this video. They said, um, due to the what did they call it? I can't call it.
We're having trouble hearing you now. We can't hear you.
Again. What? Can you? You can't. You still can't hear me now?
You could try. It's
I
not
don't know
good
what's
though.
going on. You want me to leave and come back?
Yeah, you should try that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, if anybody would like to come up, I saw a few people with some statements. Here is the link. You could come up and discuss whatever it is you want to talk about. Okay, let's see. Looks like we're still having trouble here. Let me give her a little bit more time. Yes, I think she is in a tough spot. We have Empress. Good to see you. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to. Okay, looks like she's here. Let's try it. Okay, try it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, so we heard the part all the way up until the video. Um, and they were questioning, the defense was questioning whether it was authentic or not.
Yeah. So the prosecution, they were standing at the stand, and they had the video expert on the stand. Advising that this is the video that I saw. Basically, they were trying to give credit to the video being used. Well, the defense stepped in and said, Your Honor, we're going to object to the authenticity of this video. They said it for a number of reasons, but it was so interesting because the judge, he said, wait a minute. He said, I hear him saying that this is the original video. He said, and I also heard someone testify before him that said this was the original video. But what we don't have is the person who made the alterations to the video, testifying saying, yes, I did this. And what was questionable, Mel, is the fact that there were red circles or something on the video and arrows pointing. I think yellow circles or arrows pointing. Things as small as that, raised the alarm. They wanted to know who can attest that they made these adjustments to this video. And so, because the guy that was on, well, the prosecution, they didn't have the person there that could say, "Hey, I did this. I'm responsible for this. This is the video. It was original, but I did this for this reason." They weren't there, and for that reason, in the preliminary hearing, that video was not admissible. And I found that very interesting because in Carmelo's case, I don't know if he could have or did have a preliminary hearing, but with the timestamps being off on the video, that alone, Mel, makes it very questionable. If this happened on this date, you need to show me that the date and time that this happened. And because that was off, that video shouldn't have even been allowed to be used. I don't care that you give me an excuse and say, "Hey, you're gonna notice that the witnesses their testimony is off," or you're gonna notice that what did you say he said, Mel?
What's that? I'm sorry.
You said that the prosecutor laid out two things. He said two things that were interesting to you. He said that the witnesses'
The
statements were
witnesses don't match, and also the timelines are off.
right. I don't care that you give me that excuse. You need to have somebody on the stand that can, testify as to why it's different. And I didn't see that with this case. So I wanted to know if you saw it. When that person was on the stand, that person that edited that video, you need to give an account. And the prosecution still didn't give an account as to why this is different. And I think that would help to calm, some of the noise, because you do have people out here saying that's a different video, but it's questionable. That timestamp, the dates and things being incorrect, that makes it questionable, because why is this off? If this is an authentic video, if it's real, and if it's not altered, if it's not put together in any way, why is it different? And I
Yeah.
don't think that
In
was.
this particular case, the video. Can you mute up for a second?
Yep.
I'm sorry. In this particular case, the video expert, for the most part, he did all the work on the video, so therefore he would serve as a expert as to why the video, had any changes, like for instance, the orb that they put around Carmelo, all of that. He was there to say he did it. So It wasn't a case where some other guy did it. He stood on it that he made the alterations. That makes the difference.
Okay, got it. But did they establish? Did they ask those questions? Did they give account on record as to why this is different?
No, and typically they'll bring in an expert that will explain that. Typically, when you have these videos, sometimes they record it over each other, and they give you the reasons why the timestamps don't jive. In this case, they didn't really focus on that.
But in my opinion, man, I think that was a poor. I think that was poor of the defense because they could have used that to their advantage. Just seeing how things are unfolding for this other trial. You have so many people saying, "Hey, the evidence is overwhelming. This kid did it," and then you have other people saying, "No, this doesn't match," or "This is different." It, I mean, all the way down to the DNA is interesting in that case. I don't want to, Crouch to show up with one
We're,
standpoint from a
we're, we can't hear
different,
you.
I don't know what's wrong with this. Can you hear me now?
Because you're driving, because you're riding, we can't. It affects your service, so we'll have to continue.
Okay, Mel.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Come back up when you get
Get
to
on.
a
Bye, bro.
stable
Get back on
place.
freeze.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Start my boys.
All right. Okay. Very good. Those were some great questions. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We have another person coming up. Dennis Byron. How are you?
Mel, how are you?
All right. Not bad. How are you?
Good. I want to make sure you have anything open, but how you doing, Mel?
All is well. Not bad.
Do you hear feedback, Mel?
A little bit, but it's okay. It's bearable.
Let me make sure there's nothing playing in the background. Okay, with that said, I haven't seen you since the Diddy trial.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. How are you?
Good, good. So, I had a few questions. I wanted to get back because I talked about the case early on, but I've been traveling from a few places covering some entertainment stuff. Uh, when you were in the courtroom, did you hear the defense attorneys make a lot of objections during the direct examination of the witnesses
I only counted two
and two throughout the whole?
in totality. Yeah, two.
Are you saying in days and hours and?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
One of Go
so
ahead.
that when I heard that there was going to be an appeal, I was wondering what type of objections were made throughout the trial that would end up in the appeal because you have to preserve the record. Uh,
Right.
and I was a little concerned that I didn't hear many people reporting that there were a lot of objections made or any objections made by the defense attorney. Uh, were you concerned about that as you watched the trial, and did you hear anything that you would have thought? And I don't know how many trials you actually have covered, but did any of that lack of objections raise an eyebrow or concern for you?
Yeah, big time. Because think about it. When we cover like Diddy case, some of these other cases, in 1 hour you have so many objections. Like with Luigi Mangione, they objecting all day long, right? Because they're thinking about an appeal already. But in this particular case, I believe that they did. So basically, I think you probably heard me when I said Worski was asking each of these kids four basic questions, give or take the style. Was Karmelo the aggressor? So when it came around to one time, I believe they said Worski asked, "Did was it self defense?" And that's when we got an objection. So at least one of those
What was that
was
objection? What was that objection?
the objection was Carmelo Anthony self defense? Was it self defense? And the person said no, and then there was one objection. The judge says, "I think it's just their opinion," something like that.
Okay, so what was the objection by the attorney that these are not expert witnesses and they can't testify to the legality of whether or not that was self-defense?
Right. The defense objected because they're like, you need an expert to answer that question.
Okay, you talked about the video. The initial video was played to the jurors. Um, were you concerned that the video in its entirety wasn't played for and I think in evidence, rules of completion played for the jury? Did you think that the lack of the complete video being played from, for example, when the Metcalfs entered into the field as well as Carmelo, did you think that was significant, or did you think that was uh,
I
immaterial?
didn't I didn't think it was too out of pocket because I was in court. I was able to follow along. The thing that troubled me is that we all saw the video because they gave us 5 different angles and it was chopped up, right? But it's blurred, and they actually explained because I'm pretty sure. Have you seen the 15-minute video?
Uh, I didn't see the 15 minute.
Okay, so there's a 15-minute video. When you first look at it, it shows you in 4K. You see the entire field. That's what 4K means. That's the natural setting of those cameras.
Right.
But the tent is all the way across. So they explain in order for them to zoom in to what's happening way over here, it becomes pixelated, right? You're an expert
Yes, of
with all
course,
that.
of course.
That's what you do. Um, so basically, they establish pretty much all of that about the particular video. The thing that was concerning to me is that they called for a break. They brought in a special television. They put it in front of the jurors. It was a 4K television, and they were the only ones allowed to see it. So we didn't get it. We had a chance to see everything else, but we didn't get a chance to see the 4K video. But when they started to explain it, then I was able to say, yeah, they're pretty much seeing what we saw, but they're seeing it in 4K.
Initially, there was an issue with the monitor that they were using in front of the jurors, that wasn't a compatible 4K monitor to show the 4K video. Did they change that throughout, like during the trial, and corrected that, or did they come in with that 4K monitor that they had in front of the jurors?
Yeah, they came in with that 4K because they just showed it in its natural setting on all. I think it's like 5 monitors in that courtroom. Similar to like Diddy's trial that we covered together.
You talked a little briefly about the judge and his post interview he did after the trial, which is, and I spoke about this, is rarely ever happened that a judge presiding over such a high profile case that would be likely up for appeal that would give any type of post trial commentary. Uh, were you a little concerned about that when you learned the judge was doing this interview 48 hours after the sentencing?
Yeah, I knew it would be trouble because we know that this case was going to go to appeal, and I wouldn't expect, like when we covered Sean Diddy Combs' case. Can you imagine Judge Submarinian doing an interview afterward? That would be weird, right?
Or any case, I don't recall ever,
No.
except one case in South Carolina, judges would get off the bench and sit down with the one media outlet. And the media outlet, I don't know if you're aware of this, but that particular media outlet that he did his interview with was the media outlet that was designated to share sketches for sketches that the sketch artist was doing, and we didn't have a direct access to the sketch artist. I don't know if you were aware of that, but that was the media outlet that I was told that I had to get my sketches from. And he also alluded to me creating AI renditions of the sketches because I didn't have access to the sketches. So I would see a sketch and I would create a rendition of that sketch. So when he was talking about that, he was talking about me.
Oh wow.
But you weren't aware.
No, I didn't know that.
The other thing, I was contacted by a certain content creator before the trial started that they was having issues getting access into the court media side of the courtroom. For whatever reason, that person was denied. Then I was told that the judge was not allowing any note taking. That raised another flag for me. So
Yeah.
what I in turn did is reached out to Steve Stoller, who was the point of contact for the media, and
Right.
essentially said that this appeared to be a constitutional issue. If the general public is not allowed to take notes, that may pose a problem. It's clearly a First Amendment issue if it's a public courtroom, and because it's a public courtroom, as long as you're not bringing electronic devices in, then you should have the ability to take notes. So around 8:30 p.m. that evening, uh, he said that he would reach out to the judge. So this is after hours. Within 30 minutes, he got a response from the judge. The judge reversed his decision on note taking.
Man, thank you.
They prepared an order for the media for the general public to now take notes. So I saw the motion for recusal, and I saw the reference in the motion for a new trial. And I don't know if they try to reach out to me, but clearly the judge knew that this was he overstepped his boundaries as far as trying to limit access to even the general public. So when he did this interview, it was clear to me that this judge was doing damage control, because you don't need to do damage control and doing a press a interview post trial if the court was open and transparent for the public. So you don't
Right.
need to do that, because what standard would that set for other judges who decide that, hey, we just did a high profile case, and for the defendant or the person who the accused, that the judge is making these opinions or statements that could likely twist the way this case was handled. And I don't think this judge was doing everything above board. And I was very clear on that. And the judge didn't say my name, but he knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts as far as the appeal goes? You think this case has a strong chance of appeal?
See, the problem again is the objections. This is what any good defense attorney is going to make the right legal objections to preserve the record. I don't see this happening, and that's a concern. That's a concern for me, because you're going through a trial. You challenge everything. And the other part is we never had access to the pre-trial filing, so we don't know what was asked to come in, what was not allowed to come in. The judge seals all the records. Why are you sealing the records? There's no need to seal the records. You can
Right.
redact names, but you don't have to seal the records. And we don't know what, again, I asked about that too. Most journalists like to prepare for a trial if they're going to cover it. So it was a lot this judge did. And he said something in his interview where he was trying to protect the kids. Well, no, most of the kids were either 11th or 12th graders. 11th or 12th graders, and they witnessed a crime. So you could have shot, like you could have let a camera and you could have shot from shoulder down, but their testimony is their testimony. It's a murder trial. And it's not something that the judge could control from the public. And that's what it seemed like he tried to do, even though there was an overflow room established the first day. And I think that was for voir dire, and then it disappeared. You could have
Right.
kept the overflow room open. You know how we were in the Diddy trial, even in federal court, we had monitors.
Right. But I think at some point I heard him say that this case because of the minors, So I think that's his argument.
Yeah, I think that was his that's his argument, but I don't support that. I really don't support that, because there are many cases I've covered where kids testified. If it wasn't a family court case, the judge still allowed cameras in the courtroom. So we'll see how this plays out. And I think that him wanting to have these records sealed is only to protect himself.
Right. I agree.
To a certain degree. I think, I've covered enough trials to see why. The YSL trial, one of the most high profile trials, you saw the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, definitely.
So what was your experience dealing with coming down there as a member of the press, seeing the noise outside? What was your experience with that?
I was expecting it wasn't even bad as Maduro. A lot of people don't realize I covered Maduro's case. Outside, you have Antifa fighting with the Venezuelans, and everybody's using the N word. That was a whole, this was like a cakewalk in comparison to Maduro's trial. Even Diddy, that's the toughest case outside that I've ever seen is Nicolas Maduro and his wife.
Okay.
And in New York, you can't even turn around.
I'm in New York right now, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But in this case, we saw that Jake, I think his name's Jake Lang, was out there protesting, and then we saw some weird stuff. You were on the ground there. Was it as racially charged outside as other people reported?
No. That's for sure. A lot of times, until I would say probably that last moment when people were actually covering, it was more. But during the trial, it wasn't a whole lot of activity outside where it was crazy. I mean, you know how it is. You go to court, you listen, you come out during the breaks,
Right.
but it wasn't packed. People come in for that last verdict or whatever. But throughout the trial, it was pretty. You'd have clusters of people, the Black Panthers and some other people. Then you had the guy Dominique. He would come up with his crew. It's just things like that, but nothing like what you would imagine. It wasn't.
It was a lot happening on social media.
Yeah, but see, that's some of that can be characterized and drummed up a little bit, but it wasn't a lot of tough guys, white supremacists that you would imagine. All that I didn't see any of that.
What about the reporting of people of color being ejected from the courtroom or ejected from the courthouse? Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, and I started off this show explaining how there was a black guy, one black officer that I noted out of maybe 30, just one, maybe two, but I didn't see the second one. He was really stern, and he's like, he was the enforcer. Get back in line. Da, 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 da. So one of the guys called him like not an Uncle Tom, but a house Negro, something like that. And they ejected the guy.
Did you hear that? Did you hear him say that?
I didn't hear the exact. I saw him being ejected. I didn't hear exactly what he said, but people. I was in line. I was like maybe that day. I was number like 3. And the guy, when he was ejected, he was probably like number 14. So
okay, so he was in the back of the line.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 27 in all. He was probably midway through.
But were there only people of color ejected, or were there a mixture of?
No. You never see other people ejected. That would be a monumental moment. It's always the people of color getting the boot.
Okay. And did you know why the other people got ejected?
No, he was the only one that I really saw getting ejected. I didn't see a whole lot of people getting ejected. So.
Okay. What made you decide to cover this particular trial? Did you follow the pre-trial?
Yeah, because my showmate Calvin Johnson is from the area, so when this happened, it's like in his backyard. I said a year prior, "Oh, let me go down and cover this case." So I knew I was going to cover it. I didn't know it was going to be like this. To me, it's like one of the biggest cases of the century. I had no clue.
This case?
Yeah, believe it or not, because of the racial tension,
Well, I covered OJ, so that was a pretty big case.
Yeah, that's back in the day though, but for this time frame,
I'm not that old.
No. You covered OJ. I'll have to interview you about OJ. That would be amazing.
I think I talked about him a few times. Johnny Cochran and Bob Shapiro and Bob Kardashian and a bunch of the other, was it called Douglas? Marsha Clark. Who else was it? F. Lee Bailey. A bunch of there was some very interesting attorneys on that case. But I appreciate you being out there, being in the courtroom. I sat next to you, so I know you're taking the good notes.
Yeah.
And, so that is good. What's your next case you plan on covering?
Chris Brown in London. I'm going to London. Yeah.
Chris Brown.
Yeah, in September. Yeah.
Okay. Is that civil case?
Actually, you know what? I think Luigi Mangione is around the same time, so I'll be covering both of those in September.
Okay. Well, I'll be here for Luigi.
Okay, good deal.
I didn't see you at the concert on Sunday?
Jay-Z?
Yeah.
No, I just came back from Egypt.
Oh, okay.
I had jet lag, so I said, man, I can't go out there for that, man. You know, I'm a big Jay-Z fan though, but I couldn't catch it.
It was incredible.
I know, man. I know.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Nets hat right now, but I got my Yankees hat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've been to so many Jay-Z concerts, but I knew this was gonna be like incredible. You know.
It was just that.
Yeah.
If you got anything popping, let me know, and then maybe I can pull up on you, and maybe week in the city because I'm in the city now.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Let's link up. I'll reach out to you. Thanks for coming on. Can you tell everybody how they can reach you and support you?
Absolutely. You can follow me on all platforms at Mr. Dennis Byron or Hip Hop Inquirer on YouTube. I haven't did any live videos in a while, so I was scrolling and I saw you live. So I said, let me listen to see what you were talking about.
Oh, okay. All right, good deal.
And our guy's coming. Well, Diddy's coming home.
Yeah, he's coming home. But I look forward to covering Luigi Mangione with you, though.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting case.
Yeah.
If you get in the courtroom, there's a lot of fans out there.
Yeah, it's tough. They come in as a block, so it's about 20 of them, and they hold lines. It's tough. It's going to be tough. Well, you know, you have to come in with your media. That's the only way, where they're going to box you out every time.
The same line sitters, the same guys doing the line sitting?
No. Luigi's fans are a little bit different, man. They have that whole thing sold up, and they have money, so you won't have any luck if you come through the public side. You know?
What about the press credentials? If you have your press credentials, you know we have our credentials.
Yeah. That's the only way. That's what I'm saying. That's the only way to get in for Luigi, because what they'll do. Well, that was the winter time, so what they would do, some of them would be sitting in cars. So by the time I walk up, they say, "Oh no, there's 20 of us in line, but we're in cars and tents." And then all of a sudden they start walking.
Where they parking at in Manhattan?
Man, they had a whole scheme, but you know,
at an FBI building, and they told me I was going to get told.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, it's going to be tough for Luigi, though.
Well, I'll get in. I figure a way to get in.
Yeah, you have the press credentials, so you should be fine.
I'll be good.
But
thank you for bringing me on. Make sure you guys follow me on all my platforms, and I'll be watching. I'll be in the bushes. I decided to pop out the bushes on you.
Yeah, I want to have the moderators state your channel so they can put it in the chat for you.
At Mr. Dennis Byron. All
right, guys, if you could put that in. Thank you very much. All right, man. Thank you very much. It was nice catching up with you. We got to link up. I'll reach out to you.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Thanks. My man, thank you. Okay, very good. So I think that's it for today, folks. If we don't have any other questions in regards to these matters, I think we're going to call it a day. Shout out to you, Gun B. Oh, we were supposed to cover Nolan. So what I'll do in regards to Nolan Wells, how many people feel like, put a 1 in the chat if you think that something nefarious happened with Nolan Wells. Put a 2 if you think that it was just maybe an accident or nothing nefarious at all. So let's see. Put a 3 if you're not even familiar with the case. All right. So we have Matt says nefarious. Okay. Gun B thinks it's something nefarious. Thank you, Stella, for putting up Dennis Byron's channel. Let me make sure okay. It's awesome seeing Dennis. Okay, here we go. So there we go, guys. Go follow Mr. Dennis Byron. Go support him. Definitely a good, awesome brother. Eliza says it was nefarious. Okay, so we have quite a few people thinking that Nolan Wells' case is nefarious. Mustang says not aware about that case. Commander is on the fence. You're waiting for the autopsy. Okay. Fantanisha thinks it was something nefarious. Okay. Can somebody articulate in the comment section, or if you want to come up and talk about it, tell us what about this case makes you think it's nefarious? Let's see. Can we get somebody to actually articulate it? Let's see. We'll wait for those comments. But for the most part, I just want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in today, especially for the guests that we had. It was good to see that so many people are concerned when it comes to Carmelo Anthony's case. There's a good reason why people are still talking about the case, especially if you are familiar and actually went to the courthouse. You would see exactly what I mean by the discrepancies. And also, it just seemed like we stepped into the time zone where, remember the old show Twilight Zone? That's what it seems like to me in regards to this case. Fanta says definitely they did kill him. Okay. Stella says like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to be notified for upcoming shows. Thank you very much. Comic says Drew Anthony lost his appeal. Can you expound on that? Are you talking about his own personal case? Or are you talking about the case involving his son, Carmelo Anthony? I'm not sure what you're referring to. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in today. We had some amazing people on. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for news at noon Eastern Standard Time. Stanley says justice should be equal for all, no matter what race or color. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that, Stanley. Good to see you. Remedy thinks that the case is nefarious. Okay. Comic says he lost his appeal. The one with Tiffany Billions. Okay, yeah, that's right. All right, I saw that online. I didn't really cover that too sturdy. Ground and Sky says, thank you for all taking the time to be here. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate you, Ground and Sky. All right. Stella says, yes, his own personal case. Thank you, Stella. Tara Scott says, thanks so much for covering it. I think you're such a very smart man. I love it. Okay, thank you for the support. Commander says, does hiring Ben Crump and Sharpton automatically make it a race case? Oh, that's a very good question. I don't think so. New Jersey says, good night. Okay, Jazzy's in the building. Jazzy says, what was the case about with Tiffany? I'm not too versed on that. If you had asked me about 2 weeks ago, I briefly read about it. Was it defamation? I don't know. I don't want to tell you something wrong. Comic says, sorry, I'm just joining. Okay, come back and check tomorrow. Okay, Cowboy Baby says, blessing to everyone tonight. All right, so it looks like we've covered pretty much most of the. Okay, Comic says that Sarah Fields sued him. Okay. So, can you tell us, Comic, was it defamation or what was the basis for it? Let's see. I'm going to wait for your comment really quickly. If you could just tell us what was the case based on, Comic Poet. Thank you. Okay, so defamation. All right. Thank you very much. I thought I read a little bit about it, but I wasn't too intrigued by it, so I'm not versed on that. All right. So in conclusion, all right, we still have comments coming in. Jazzy says, what is Sarah Stewart? Okay, we covered that. And D Cran, thank you so much. I was just about to talk about you, and thank you for your super chat. Thank you for always showing up, D Cran. Don't think I don't notice it. There's a few names that always turn up for me, and I'm so grateful to have you in the company. It's so amazing. If you're interested in becoming a moderator, D Cran, I would love to have you on. You just have to let me know, and I would definitely add you to the fold. Thank you very much. So, in conclusion, all right, so Decran, I'll add you, but I can't add you on here. I'll have to go back. All right, thank you very much. So, in conclusion, I just want to say we're living in a time where a lot of people are just seeking to create all sorts of adversities for other people. I think it's wise for any of us to try to get along as much as possible, despite the color, religion, creed, whatever it is, because the more we can mend this gap, I think we could get further as a people. But again, we have to be able to address the issues at hand. A lot of people come into the chat in the comment section, and before they even take the time to hear the details as to the position on Carmelo Anthony, they just run with a narrative that they receive from mainstream media. And as you just seen from the brother that came on, Dennis Byron, his channel is Mr. Dennis Byron. We cover these cases. He's been covering cases all the way back to O.J. Simpson. Go check him out. He's very good at what he does. But these cases are never so simple. There's so many different moving parts. You see, the prosecution said that the witnesses' testimonies would not match. If the mainstream media doesn't say it, people won't believe it. Or what about the fact that the timestamps were off? Do you hear the mainstream media talking about that, right? There's just so many moving parts. What about the fact that most of the kids said that Carmelo basically just received a nudge from Austin, just a little push on the shoulder? And now we've shown you by way of video that basically there's two people engaging with Carmelo. There's no doubt about it, right? But that's not what many people understand about this case. So when you say it, they won't believe it. Even now, if you try to show it to them, oh, no, that's wrong. That's a real big problem because a lot of people get sentenced and they go and they get these long prison stints. And you have to wonder how many individuals did not get a fair trial, right? And as I told you with Sean Diddy Combs, when I went to his appeal about 6-7 months ago, the first thing the judge says is it's very hard for us to ever turn around a case on appeal. That's what the judge said. That was the first thing out of the judge's mouth in the case of Sean Diddy Combs. Now, based on what we understand, he's going to be coming home based on other reasons, credits that he got for good behavior and also the drug program and so forth. But we have to be able to understand these cases at a high level. But one of the key ingredients is for the truth to be able to come out and be absorbed about a case. But already we see with this new case, today we covered, what is his name? David Irving. That's going to be hitting the court soon. I'll definitely go down to cover that case. The young man drowned and they arrested the young fella in regards to a white guy. If you are not familiar with that case, go back to my live today at News at Noon. I covered that case too. That's another drowning. And in that case, they arrested the guy. So we don't know the true story yet of what's happening with Nolan, but already people are jumping the gun. People are making up. In the case of Carmelo Anthony, when it came to Austin Metcalf, somebody made up the medical examiner's report and they said the boy was on drugs. People make up so much stuff, right? This is going to be a real big problem for us when it comes to these cases. And we have to use knowledge and intelligence in covering cases and knowing that you can't get bent out of shape because people can't even follow the true facts of a case. I want to thank you guys. Thank you to the moderators for keeping us solid tonight. I see Stella in the mix doing her thing. I really do appreciate it. I just want to make sure I say it. Also, New Jersey, and thank you very much for all you do. You guys are the reason why we can get through a show and not have a lot of people in the midst just creating a lot of fuss, right? A lot of, I call them, well, I won't call them anything. We're going to just end on a pleasant note. I want to thank you guys. I see Grumpy's in the building. Shout out to you, Grumpy. Thank you again, D. Cran, for all you do. Thank you for all the guests that came on. DJ Genesis of Detroit, you can go follow her channel. She has a great channel as well. Thank you to Remedy for coming up and for all you do. Remedy has a situation going on with her son. We're going to have her come up and talk about it. We spoke about it before. She's going to be giving us an update. It's quite the story, but it's nice that we can give some support to people who are going through challenges, especially when it comes to their kids. We also had Mr. Dennis Byron. He covers these cases all the way back to O.J. Simpson. I'll have him on to tell us more about the O.J. Simpson case. That would have been the case of a lifetime indeed. Thank you so much. Peace out to everybody. Much love back to you guys. Thank you so much for all you do. We'll see you tomorrow for news at noon Eastern Standard Time. Until then, have a great night. Be well and continue to let your light shine. Have a good night.
Different voices, but the same song. Loving a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.